This has gone really well so far, hasn't it? And we're back. Hello.
As the
Look
world
at my
burns.
wonderful titles. Okay, hi Ben. This is Ben Pobjie, renowned comedian, banned from Twitter, deboosted, unpersoned,
Deboosted.
for absolutely no fucking
Oh,
reason.
I've been through the ringer.
You have. You... So should we maybe start there?
That's why I look like this.
Because I still have a platform,
However I
even if
look.
it's a little one.
Yeah, I have a little platform,
Yeah. Well, we know
a
that.
shrinking platform,
Yeah, we know
like
that.
um like Johnny Depp at the start of Pirates of the Caribbean, as he gradually
Yeah,
sinks.
yeah.
Um,
Like Johnny Depp.
Speaking of people who've been like Johnny Depp in real life, I have a
Fucking hell.
shrinking platform.
Oh, so anyway, are we going to talk about that or not?
About Johnny Depp?
No,
I mean, I
about
don't know.
your like little coming of.
About
I think we've kind of gone
his
through
body of
this.
work.
We've gone through this together a little bit, but I'm a little bit
Yeah.
ahead of you because apparently, I said an outrageous thing, right? And
Mm.
went through this a little bit earlier. And I've gone through a slightly different one, which was that I sat and observed it for some time. I did nothing
Right.
really, there was no event, there was no real thing that happened to me that made me, like some people have been just cancelled or, they suddenly, the
Mm.
pack turns on them. For me, it was actually just someone made a good argument and I agreed with their argument and then I started to see what happened, right? So my journey was a bit different versus someone who's just been, yeah. So let's talk about that a bit maybe. For the people
Well,
who
I
are
mean, I was,
coming in, oh
I was,
sorry,
I mean, I haven't. I mean, I had an event in terms of being suspended from Twitter,
yeah, but that was
but
because the maggers went after you, wasn't it?
that was kind of unrelated to the gradual shedding of friends that I've had over the last few years
Sorry, I just realised my light's
for
fucked.
various reasons.
Well, it's
You
been very
fiddle with your
weird.
gadgets.
Sorry, I just realised the light was making me look like a million years old. Anyway, so
No, you look good. You know what? You know what's crazy here is that you and I, Taya, we are
sane.
approximately the same age.
Yeah,
We're like similar ages,
yeah. So we're Gen
right? And
Xers
yet,
wanting to
at the
burn
same
it to the
time,
ground.
for one thing, you look bloody fantastic.
Ugh,
You're you look
thanks.
much younger, and yet I still always feel like you are my elder because you seem like you've got so much more life experience in you, and I
Because I'm
feel
a
like you're a grown up,
calamity. It changes.
and I'm not.
No, I don't have a lot of life experience. I think I've just, those people that are, they're born to suffer in the world and explore the hard way through life. So,
Oh, that's you.
yeah, I feel like, Animal Farm, I'm like Benjamin. I feel like
Which
Benjamin
one
in
was
Animal. He's the
Benjamin? Was he
donkey.
a pig?
No, he's the donkey, and he's basically the guy that's
Was
just like
donkey?
donkeys live a long time, and you never see a dead donkey because he's seen it all before. He's lived
Oh,
it,
right.
and he's kept his head down. And he doesn't get involved in the fights. In fact, Benjamin should be our motto for this show, which is we're just being Benjamins. You could actually be a
We
Benjamin.
should speak Benjamins.
I was actually
Yeah,
thinking it'd be funny to
I'm
interview
similar.
all the Bens, and then I can have a Ben sandwich. But anyway, we need
Ooh,
to interview other Bens.
hang on. Careful. I mean,
Anyway, we're drifting.
no, because a Ben sandwich would be a sandwich with me in the middle and
Oh yeah,
two breads on the other side.
yeah.
Two bits of bread. Yeah. If you
Brett.
were in the middle, that would be you would be the sandwich.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we've got to rethink that then.
I
Okay.
think I think it's important we get the dynamics of
It
sandwiches
is. It's
right if we're going
very.
to proceed with this.
It's very. This is a very clearly planned conversation. It's funny how we write like dot points about what we're going to talk about, and then spend fucking 10 minutes talking about the semantics of a fucking
I
sandwich.
think I think the lesson here is that it's a bad idea to plan anything
Absolutely. Well, we
because it just
can't.
waste of time. Look at me. We just went on holiday and we had our holiday planned out, and then we had to come home
Yeah.
because of the virus that the U.S. military manufactured.
But you're
And
actually in. You're actually in quarantine, right? At the moment. Like
Oh
some
no,
people are
no, no.
self-isolating, but
We were in self-isolation. We're out of self-isolation. Well, the thing is though, now everyone's in self-isolation, aren't they?
yeah.
So we've passed the fortnight when it was we were staying in self-isolation. But since then, matters have progressed to the point where everyone is supposed to self-isolate. So we're just in the general staying home period. And just earlier, I had some food delivered, and I'm afraid I took the food directly from the delivery person's hands. I didn't touch her, but I was close to her. And it's like, I just heard my mother's words ringing in my ears. Don't ever let a woman get within 3 feet of you. And I was like, she was so right.
Oh, the bar's moved. The bar's moved.
Mm.
Not even inappropriate touching now. That's just how these
Everything,
things. This is how these things operate now. First, you're not
yeah,
allowed to grab someone in the ass, and now even just looking at another person, you can't even do that
more
anymore.
every dead granny's on my conscience.
But
So,
it's actually very interesting because we, for the first time ever, we were just like, we could really use some KFC. And we had KFC, and there's a thing where we kind of bought more than we ordinarily would, and we went nuts. And because there was no shame attached to it, you could just have your shame food delivered to your door. You're not having to make any
yeah,
eye contact with another human being. It's like,
yeah.
nobody who will ever know. It's fantastic. But this idea of self-isolation I find funny too, because it's like, feels a little bit like we've been asked to resign. Like I'm
Look,
self-isolating. Well, we're
yeah,
asking you to self-isolate. Well, no, you're asking us to isolate.
yeah.
So, yes, I'm being asked to resign.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
in ancient Rome, what would happen was that someone who had disgraced themselves, offended the powers that be, would be said, "Look, you can stab yourself to death right now,
Yeah. Or,
and then you'll get a decent funeral, and your family will get your pension and everything, or we can kill you, and then your family will starve on the streets." And so I feel like that's the option we're being given now.
yeah, it feels a bit like that,
You
doesn't it?
can you can destroy your own life, or we'll destroy it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
But I do find it
where was I
interesting.
going with this? I don't know. What I'm
It's just
saying is I've
funny.
been reading a lot of my old Asterix comics, and there's a lot of wisdom there.
Yeah. It's amazing how sort of prophetic a lot of this stuff has been. And we were talking about this. This is why we changed the name of the show. Actually, we should get back to that, which is I still have to learn how to actually say the name of the show because I looked it up and it's a great word, but I'm still not used to saying it.
Campanilismo.
Campanilismo, which is this idea of the thing that with all these tribal wars that are going on at the moment, right? There's nothing new. It's actually,
No.
like Freud, this is concept of narcissism of minor differences. And some people would say that
Yes.
it's the narcissism of micro distances. It's progressed to the point
Yes.
where, the old Monty Python sketch, People's Front of
Yes.
Judea versus the Judean People's Front. I hate those
Yeah.
fucking assholes. And that's just an
Yeah.
interesting, because that's a time that I think both you and I have really fallen apart in a sense where it's fine that I'm
Yes. Definitely.
fighting more with people that I agree with 95% of the time than people that I absolutely disagree with.
Yeah.
Because and that
Totally.
phenomenon is
And that's
fascinating. So that's why we're naming it that, because we just thought that was a cool name. Just got to learn how to say it.
yeah. Campanilismo.
Campanilismo. Also,
As a bona fide, look, I actually do look kind of Italian, so I feel like I'm qualified.
I get asked if I'm Italian all the
You know,
time. I'm not. I'm gypsy, but
do you?
yeah, Romany gypsy. But
I
I
guess
don't have
over
the
in
Roman nose. I got the
for
button
Western
nose.
Australia, you're quite exotic looking.
Yeah. Well, everyone thinks I'm Italian, so and I'm like, no. I dye my hair, and yeah. Anyway, but yes, Romany is the background. That technically is Italian, isn't it? I don't know. Who gives a fuck anyway? We don't need to say
Well,
this is what we need to. We need to know
Romany derives from Rome. You know,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So
And Roman
brace
Catholic
yourself
and all
back.
that stuff. I don't know. But this is where we're at. Or I have to declare my identity in order to justify using a word from that identity. No, it's a funny word. Fuck it. We like it. Nothing else.
Don't.
Sorry? Well, my business is called
Everything is stolen.
Kintsugi.
Everything
Yeah.
is stolen.
I'm surprised no one's accused me of cultural appropriation with that yet. With my business name Kintsugi, which is a Japanese word.
Got. Well, I mean, are we moving towards a case where the new normal is pandemics? So
I'm sorry.
that's what we're going to be worried about. And now we have the old thing. Every time anyone accuses you of cultural
You should fucking
appropriation
visit
or
a pandemic.
microaggressions in the future,
Yeah.
you can say, well, you know what? A pandemic could arrive tomorrow. Another one.
Yeah.
So maybe we focus on what's important here, yeah?
Well, that's why I'm
Hand
loving this,
sanitizer.
because I just give zero fucks. And I'm just going to climb higher and higher up the gallows the more serious this gets. Right? That's just how we got to go. It's the only way to be.
I'm just imagining climbing high. See, what I'm imagining is like the hangman's trying to get you and you're
Yeah.
climbing up
Yep.
on the structure and he's like,
Yeah.
you come back down here.
No. Start pelting rocks. Yeah, you won't take my humour away from me. That's the only thing that stops me from being anxious. And I think a lot of people feel the same way now. But it's anyway, so the whole tribal thing, what I'm finding interesting in the current circumstances is the people that are doubling down on their dumbass fucking ideas. Like they're still somehow
Isn't
making
that
it.
interesting how
Yeah. Go.
they like see it as an opportunity?
Yeah.
They're like, well, the virus is giving us a chance to hammer home our petty bullshit even harder.
The think pieces are great though.
I think a growing number of people are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. And it is funny because there is an inherent narcissism.
You're getting all choppy.
Oh, am I? Okay. There is an inherent narcissism, right?
Not blaming you.
No. Anyway,
Yes.
Skype is shit, but whatever.
Sorry,
We'll try and find a different technology.
Also, I keep interrupting.
No.
I think your real problem is you have a very poor recording partner here.
No, we're fine. We're talking
awful.
shit. It's fine. No, you're not. It's good. But well, there is an inherent narcissism to this, right? And what I find funny is that there's this big outing of narcissists everywhere. People that you thought were good people, that they were all these virtue signaling fucks that were just doing it. You really, I know for me, I've just sat back and observed, like not just corporations, like Richard Branson shitting the bed, and all those people who everyone would defend and say, oh yeah, he's a genuinely good guy. Well, when chips are down, look who the good guys are. Is he? Yes. I'm loving it. There's some schadenfreude with it, right?
Yeah. I think, you know what? It's just amazing how you suddenly realize at times that you had no idea what other human beings were like. You think you have an idea of what it's like to be a person. And then a bunch of famous people put out a video of themselves singing Imagine as a tribute. And these are not...
Imagine no possessions in their mansions.
They're not just the stupid celebrities. They're like, some of them are people you thought were like the cool people. And they're singing it. And you're like, I can't get... You know how there's a thing such as empathy where you put yourself in other people's shoes. I am incapable of putting myself in the shoes of someone who thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
I can't get into the headspace. I can't... Ironically, I can't imagine what it would be like to think, yeah, let's all sing Imagine, and that will give the people hope during this terrible time. And the thing that really got me is, as I just said, it's impossible to know what other people are like. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking everything I know about John Lennon tells me he would have fucking hated this.
Oh, he would have been on an angry tweet rampage.
This is not why he wrote that.
He would have Kanye'd like a motherfucker over that thing, right?
Incidentally, there is 100% probability that if John Lennon was alive, he would have duetted with Kanye several times.
Yeah.
But I mean, Paul McCartney did. Maybe John wouldn't have because Paul did.
Maybe.
Interesting. Anyway, This
But
is
watching
the
this,
Beatles show with
well, this is the show.
alternative history.
I think everybody who knows that we're trying to do something, we have no plan. We just know we want to talk stuff. We want to talk shit. We
Yeah.
got the same sense of humor, and we're just
I'm
riffing,
interested
right?
in what you said.
Yeah.
You were talking about
I was
the
just talking about watching all
narcissism.
of these fuckwits be exposed for the narcissists and tone deaf elite fucks that they are, right?
I just
I
think
like telling
it's
people what I really
incredible.
think. Swearing is allowed on this show, obviously, but but these dumb, because I think there's a little bit of vindication, and I know it sounds terrible because I'd want to be a good person. I
We
think
all
I'm a
want to
good.
be good
I think
people.
I'm a good person, but there's a little part of me that's like vindicated and going, "Ha ha, you stupid fucks! I've been watching you." I remember when Twitter was new, right? And I first saw
Yep.
John Cusack sign up for Twitter and share, and I was excited because I had a couple of clients and stuff on there, and I remember that feeling of disappointment. Remember that feeling when the celebrities that you really liked would sign
Yeah.
up and then absolutely devastate you with how illiterate they are and stupid?
This is something I've been thinking about. Is like there has to be a word for the phenomenon of famous people on social media who communicate in a way that indicates they've got some kind of brain damage.
We
And
need to
Cher
think
does it the
about
same way.
that.
And John Cusack is one. And there's lots of them. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Bette Midler.
why? These are, yeah, Bette Midler. These are people
People you
who
love.
they've moved through life. They're adults. They've managed to progress through the world. Presumably, they were able to handle their own bank account. They know
Can
how to
they?
catch a bus.
Can
And
they? Or
it's
do they have a whole team of people and handlers around them?
is that what it is? Because you get handlers because they get on, but you see them in interviews and they would talk like normal people, but for some reason they get on Twitter and they talk in these bizarre sort of semi
Coherent?
childish
Yeah.
half sentences with masses of spelling mistakes. They can't seem to string a coherent thought together. It's this weird, it's almost like a special celebrity language
It's like
that
a
only
little
exists
death.
on Twitter.
Not to quote Jordan Peterson this early in our fucking shows, but that little death of identity, right? There's a little feeling, that same feeling when you found out that Beck was a Scientologist. That little or Jason Lee, when you found out they were Scientologists and you go,
Yeah, that was a shame.
oh, now it's the same thing with wokes, right? Jamila
Yeah,
Jamil, you're like, oh, she was great in The Good Place, and then you
yeah.
see that she's joined this thing, and you go, oh fuck, I thought
Although,
you
I
were
mean,
cool.
I love I
Oh,
love the Good
same.
Place, but there are times when what I want to say to Jamil is, slow down. You weren't so good on the Good Place
Yeah,
that
she
we'll
wasn't.
forgive you anything.
No, Kristen Bell and Ted Danson carried
And
the show.
also, it's a very good show, and this is it's no shame that this is true, Jamila, but you are the worst thing on it.
Yeah,
So, and
and
that's
she's
good.
playing
Being
herself.
being the worst thing on the Good Place is still better than being the best thing on Two and a Half Men. But
Exactly. Excuse
come
me.
on,
Yeah, that's again,
you
that's that
hold
level of
yourself
tone
back.
deafness that they've got, which is that don't they understand the odds of having a not just one hit show, but a repeat of that experience? There's a whole bunch of one hit wonders out there. There's a whole bunch of people, right?
What gets me about
There's a
Jamila
whole bunch
Jamil
of people
is
who had one
she's
hit in the 90s, right?
yes, exactly. And the thing is, she wasn't even an actress before that show.
No, she's playing
This is
herself.
her first acting role, and it's like the privilege you have had that let's be honest,
Yeah,
little miss, stop judging people by how they look. You, you're world famous because of how you look.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would like you to at least admit that
Mm.
once in your life.
Oh, they won't. They
Admit
won't.
that why don't you say it straight out, Jamila? We need to end the system whereby like me have an incredibly fucking easy ride through life.
Exactly.
Please.
Yes.
I'd be
Oh,
with
she
you. I'd
doesn't
be
want to
like,
end that
I'd be
system.
like,
She wants
I'd
to
be
end
so
every
with
system
Jamila
except.
Jamil if she was coming out and saying, I don't deserve what I've got.
Yeah, and I think
But
there's a lot of people who are like that.
no one ever says that.
I think a lot do. I think they're just sort of not on Twitter.
I think, to be fair, some do. I
Yeah.
mean, look,
Most of them
I
quietly
think,
donate. Those celebrities that quietly donate millions of dollars and you don't hear about it.
I
And
mean, I'm quite, I'm very enamored, as you would know, of David Mitchell.
Mm,
And to David Mitchell's credit, it's quite common for him to say, it's not really fair that I've got what I've got.
mm. Yeah.
That he makes it clear I'm in a privileged position because our society uh, is very unfair in the way it values different talents.
Mm. But
And that's why he is
that's the
where he
thing
is.
about this intersectionality thing, though, right? Is that it's a good idea. It's called
Mm.
humility and empathy for others. It's all it is, and class awareness and class consciousness. And it's
And of course, it's very, very
the
obvious at
yeah,
its base. It's one of those. Usually, these things, these ideas, are things that everyone can
yeah,
understand quite easily
yeah.
because they realize, yes, I've known that all my life, and you've put it into words. But then
Mm.
you complicate things and you mess it up, and you come up with all sorts of weird theories that
Build
are
a
trying to
cult
make
around
people
it.
feel bad about themselves.
Yeah,
And people call bullshit because they realize, hang on, that doesn't make sense at all.
yeah.
And so that's the point at which you say, let's dial this back to what we used to think.
Yeah.
Um,
But what I find fascinating is how this whole thing. I had a bit of an epiphany. I tend to be in the tinfoil hat brigade generally, just because I know how the tech
you
works.
do, you do,
No, but
and
I
it
know
suits
how the
you. You
tech
wear it
works.
well.
I know how it's designed. Like I believe that fucking woke shit is actually a product. It's not a
Sure,
phenomenon,
sure,
that it's actually a
yeah.
product to sow division, to use, to social experiment, to keep us divided. Because I actually realized, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but if you get in an argument on Facebook, right, with somebody,
Yeah,
if on the odd occasion that happens,
never happened to
rare
me.
occasion that happens, but that person, right, this is as a designer, you would think that Facebook knows that argument is heated, right? Through all of the
Yeah,
algorithm, through the processing, all that, they know that's heated. Why do they then make that person's post front and center in your feed next morning, right? Rather
yes,
than burying it, right? And I noticed
yeah.
that because there was a friend who I vehemently disagree on whether women can have dicks. Okay.
You know what? You know what? I love women and I respect women, and I say if they want dicks, they can have dicks, and you know they can have mine if they wish. I'm not selfish. I'm not keeping it to myself.
Well, yeah, okay. But anyway,
Please, please go on. Please ignore my rudeness.
I was going to make a point. No, but this like that they're fueling this shit. The tech is fueling this, which is
Of
that
course.
this idea that because this person in particular, him and I agree on 99% of everything else, and
Mm,
yet here we are on the verge of an all-out war over one thing,
yeah.
which also
Well,
we agree on. If you could talk for 5 fucking seconds.
yeah.
And that's what I find really weird about this, which is that on an emotional level, how affected we are, right, by someone who
Yes.
we like and agree with being disappointing. That's like a real
Yeah.
injury rather than, like Nazis be Nazis. I don't give a fuck about them, right? But it's just really,
Well, but here is the thing, right? It's like everyone will agree there are a few things that are deal breakers.
yeah.
So for instance, if you said, I agree with this person on 99% of things, the only thing we differ on is whether slavery should be reintroduced. You'd say, okay,
Yeah, well,
fair enough. You don't have to go. But there are people, a lot of people, who would like every issue that they're interested in to assume the same magnitude.
mm,
They want everything to be at the same level of scandalous outrage
yeah,
as slavery should be reintroduced.
yes,
And that's they refuse to accept any gradation of
Mm.
disagreements.
Well, I did a video
Uh,
the other day about this idea that if you've got a whole bunch of people that see Nazis under every rock, right?
mm,
And then you have a bushfires and pandemic and all this. I worry that there's going to be the cows from. I keep thinking of the cows from South Park all just walking off the
yeah,
ledge. But this is heading into death cult territory.
yeah,
Like this is why I was so upset with Naomi Wolf because, and other Australian people that I named in the video, but but I'm not to pick on anyone, but anyone with a platform who's screaming
yeah,
Nazi and dictator and all that sort of stuff, that they really need to take their shit responsibly because
yes.
like people are we're all anxious and feeling very unwell, and I think there's going to be some people who'd break.
And this is the amazing thing about Naomi Wolf is that
Speaking of
her most
disappointment,
high profile, but the thing that got her the most in the
was her
news in
looks.
recent times is, of course, the fact that she wrote an entire book based on her not understanding what she'd read in her research. And that big thing where it's like she wrote this whole book
Yeah.
about gay people being executed, and then one interviewer said, you know where you've written this about gay people being executed, that didn't actually happen, and you don't understand the terminology. And she has not learnt from that at
No.
all, that I shouldn't shoot my mouth off about things until I'm sure I understand them. Or rather, I shouldn't be so sure I understand everything.
But
Because
did you see
she
her
got,
double down with Anthony Green? Did you see that fucking thing? And
yes, and Anthony
he's
Green
a
is so
legend.
patient.
He's a fucking
This
legend,
is
man.
quite amazing. She got roped into that little, that stupid little thing with was it Angus Taylor
Yeah.
about the Christmas trees? And it's like, well, everyone was on her side. Everyone was like, Naomi Wolf, stop trying to drag her into your idiotic culture wars. And then Naomi Wolf, because she's suddenly heard of Australia, she like she's speed read a couple of websites, and now she thinks she's an expert on Australian politics, and
Oh.
she's telling us what kind of government we're living under.
But
And the
that's what
problem
I
is,
love.
there's about 1 million Australians who think that that's the kind of government we've been living under all along. They think we've been living under fascism for the last 50 years. And so they're like, yes, Naomi Wolf, respected academic, is backing up what I've been saying for years to my 3 friends.
But what's actually funny, this is where I find this Naomi Wolf thing really fascinating because that whole country thing is fucking. There's a stack with Australians and UK. There's a whole
Yeah.
dynamic that you need to see how loyalties shift quickly. Like I loved
Mm.
seeing that, which was even I kind of engaged because basically I'm like, no, we're a federation. You don't know what you're fucking talking about. Turns out Greg
Yeah.
Combay was the architect of a lot of this stuff, who's one of the most respected union leaders and
And
politicians in our fucking generation. And
yeah.
it's like, you fuck off.
And look, what it comes down to is there's this thing called the federal cabinet, which is the government frontbenchers coming
Yeah.
together to set government policy. And in a time of crisis, there's this thing called the national cabinet.
Yep.
They're not the same. They don't. The national cabinet doesn't replace the federal
No.
cabinet. It's not doing the same job. And this is what
And it's
Anthony
all
Green explained to
convention. And
Naomi
it's all
Wolf.
convention. She
And
going
it
under
absolutely
what
is. And
what
Naomi
law?
Wolf
Constitution.
has decided that because the word cabinet is used in both cases, she must know more than Anthony Green about Australia's government system.
Well, I was amazed. She actually replied to me. I
So,
didn't expect her to engage with me. I don't. You know that moment when you don't expect them to. You're just talking shit because people know
always.
I know my politics, man. I know my constitution. And so she turned around and
Yeah.
she's just like, under what law? You know those people that these identity fucks, right? And they ask
Yes.
stupid, thought terminating, rhetorical questions. Whose power? Why? It's
Yeah.
like,
This is like,
and it's like they don't want the
have you seen the
answer.
movie Godspell?
No, what's that?
Have you seen Godspell? They
No.
reenact, biblical stories in
Yeah.
the setting of, 70s New York.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where reenacting where Jesus argues with the Pharisees, and so Jesus is like a guy in rainbow suspenders with an afro, but the Pharisees are like, take the form of this monster made out of junk, and he speaks with this booming demonic voice. Is like, by whose authority do you teach these things? Who gave you this authority? And it's like she thinks she's got you.
Yeah, and they just
No,
go, oh, but
you
under
jump.
what law? And I was like, the Constitution, specifically Section 62 and 61, and others. There's a number. It's blah, 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 blah. And she's like, but show me the law. I went, the Constitution, the highest law we have. You fucking numbskull. And it's just
in general, it's such a weird thing to say, by what law are they allowed to do this?
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, the question is, Naomi, show me the fucking law that says they're not.
Yeah, well, that's right.
You know, it's like, oh, by what law are you allowed to...
No, but it's like, who says...
By what law did you take a shower this morning?
But you think, like, this is somebody who, when you're a doctor, you have a doctor of philosophy, right? With that, you would assume that one can reason, that one understands how to do basic deductive reasoning, right? But what they do is they ask these stupid it's just pseudo-philosophy. You know, and again, not to talk about gender too much, but it's the same thing where we go, you know, sometimes there are material facts, okay?
Yes.
You can't just go off into fairyland and go, oh, well, it's like, you know, that we'll just agree to disagree. No, this is a fact. Your opinion is not equal to my facts.
To me, because it's like, I mean, a lot of the time it's like, yeah, of course I agree to disagree. I mean,
yeah.
How would I prevent that?
Yeah, but you can't. Yeah.
I don't have the power to stop
you. It's so stupid.
So can we take it as read that I agree for us to disagree from the start?
Oh, but these dummies who I don't know. Oh, they Google.
I mean, look, someone discovered at one point that there are certain things that are a matter of opinion and cannot be proven one way or the other. And they extrapolated from
what, like religion?
That, therefore, that applies to everything.
Yeah. Well, again, we don't want to be that channel, because I'm sure that if those want to understand like critical theory and all that sort of shit, there's people who talk about that a lot better, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, look up like James Lindsay's work and that crew, because it does. My frustration with this, and I'm sure you're the same, Ben, is that we know that the seed of where these things came from. Like class, this came from Marx. It came from these things. Yes. These are sound, but these are sound principles in principle. But they've formed it's like basically they've formed a cult around it, right? It's like the 10 Commandments are a good set of ideas, but the rest is fucking stupid. You keep like it's when you turn it into an evangelical Christian versus the 10 Commandments, it's like, well, no, it's good to follow those things. That's good, right? But I'm not going to go to Hillsong, right? That's the same thing with these people, right? It's like they've taken the 10 Commandments and built a religion around it. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, it's, you know, it's funny that they build a religion around it, because these people themselves will quite rightly say, you know, we do not discriminate against people who don't share our religion. We sort of,
they do.
We are very anti that kind of bigotry. But of course,
they don't discriminate. They just erase them completely from the earth and smite them.
No, but that's the thing.
They're the vengeful gods.
They will do this for the people who disagree with the religion, whilst being very anyone who attempts to do the same with actual religions.
Yeah, I know, but it is a religion. That's the thing.
It's a weird thing where the only legitimate way to disagree with the pseudo-religion would be if you can claim that you have an actual official religion to fall back.
Yeah.
What am I saying? What I'm saying is this, basically.
There's no room for material facts.
Absolutely. Basically, it's okay to say that you hate women and gays as long as God told you to.
So if you actually, and that's something that I've found interesting, is that the argument, science is wrong, reason is wrong, It was all invented by the white man.
Yeah.
Right? What is it? Cis hetero white men? Is that cis hetero
Cis hetero white
patriarchy? So all of
patriarchy.
them.
Yeah.
So basically, what that is this is, if you're all of those things, you're fucked. But it's but that all of science, maths, education, economics, they were all tools of oppression, and so therefore we need to throw all of it out, all of it,
Yeah.
and start again, and insert these magical knowledge, new ways of knowing. It's like, well, no, that's not. It's like,
You know what? It doesn't
fucking
make
hell.
sense because it's like, well, let's know this. Let's think about the case of Captain Cook.
Yeah.
Now, Captain Cook, and actually, let's go further, Captain Cook. Let's talk about the first fleet, which actually, were the ones to actually invade this nation. And now they used boats to get here. So boats were tools of oppression.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that boats
Sink all the boats.
are a white colonialist concept.
I think that's actually a very good way to describe. I think when people like you and I are critical of the crazies of this the extremes, that's exactly where that line is, which is we are very much in the yes, we agree on the fact that boats were used to do this thing, to commit these horrific things, but it's like, you remember Carl Pilkington, of course. Like Ricky Gervais, yeah. You know how the genius thing about his comedy is that you'll follow him sort of 95% of the way. Like you step through step by step, but then he kind of diverges 45 degrees that way, and you go, "What the fuck just happened?"
How did we get here?
And it's that sort of, we're with you up until about here, and then there's that massive divergence, and that's where again it's the small differences, but it's actually a big difference, which is that.
And this is what frustrates me
about
arguments about science in particular, because it's so important.
Yes.
And
it's saving us right now.
So much of what people talk about discrimination in science is so important. They say, yes, women and people of colour have been marginalised in science, in the study of science,
and
in the scientific institutions.
Yes.
They've been kept out. Yes, it's so important that we encourage them to more of the marginalised groups to enter science. It's really important we do that. But then
they've still got to use the fucking scientific method.
The scientific methods and the scientific processes that are being developed are therefore in themselves invalid, and we have to stop talking in these terms. It's like, no. No, the bad thing was that we had a good thing that was being denied to too many people.
Yeah.
It's not that the good thing was bad.
No.
Well,
it's the same thing. Like,
I feel like I'm being too serious about things. I don't.
No.
I hate even.
I hate
even expressing sincere opinions about stuff, because I feel like it's really more fun to talk bullshit.
But it is ridiculous.
Sometimes
right?
things happen and I have an opinion and then I say it and then people yell at me and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll go back to being dumb.
Yeah, no, but
that's
the thing
me.
is, but I think that there is no, but that's me too, right? Because you've seen me, I oscillate between being serious and well-informed and being a dickhead about it. But I think people understanding why we're laughing at it is a good thing too, right? It helps to get, which is that it's just so fucking stupid.
And if we can go back again to the concept of agreeing to disagree, I genuinely do agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I genuinely am not. I don't want to demonize people for disagreeing with me.
But I don't give you power either, if you're an idiot.
Okay, but I'd love it if people didn't demonize me as well. It's the only thing.
Yeah. Well, and there's also the fact that people... Like, were you in student politics? Did you get involved in any of this, in uni?
God, no.
No, well, I was, right? And the thing is that the green-haired croc-wearing fucks, they've always been there. Right, I've said this before. They've always been there. But they've existed at the fringes, right? But now,
Yeah.
for some reason, they have power. And that's where I sit there and I go, hang on a minute. No, this is like kids. What? Suddenly kids are in charge? No. Idiots are in charge?
Yeah.
No. It's like this is where you've got to protect the institutions. And those hierarchies exist for a reason. And I know that that's a horrible thing to say, but merit does come into this, okay? Even as a feminist, I go, well, yes, okay, maybe we do need to expand our definitions of merit and what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it still needs to be merit-based. Like I'm seeing all these, since Me Too, right? Okay, can I go off on a rant?
Yes. Absolutely.
Since Me Too, okay, like I was all on board with that. And then all of a sudden, what I'm seeing now is the same dumb fucking middle. So basically, we've replaced incompetent white middle class men with incompetent middle class white women. That's not how it works. They're the same people.
About meritocracy.
Basically,
it's like the votes, I guess, because everyone, the people in power love to talk about meritocracy. The Liberal Party love to talk about it, and we rightfully point out we don't have a meritocracy, and we never really fucking did.
Well, there isn't.
But
no,
what we should be aiming for is to try to get closer to an actual meritocracy.
Yeah.
Not throw out the notion of meritocracy altogether and say it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I'm seeing
should actually be trying to improve.
And if I could say something very politically incorrect, I'm seeing an awful lot of, the women that get their tits out for Jesus and, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But they know how to, like they've been capitalizing big time in corporate land on this stuff, right? All those little middle management HR ladies that are being sort of trickled upwards in the hierarchy because they know how to play it, and it's like, but there's still not a merit system. There's still not it's just like, anyway, it's like that wasn't what we were talking about. We're talking about anyway, I'd like some competent people who are diverse. That would be nice. I'm sure they exist.
I mean, the thing is, of course, if you had a real meritocracy, the diversity would just happen. And
yes,
the thing that the shitty thing is that history has warped us to the point where there's no proper even starting point that we can embark from.
Yeah,
and that is an issue. But
absolutely.
I think we have to be a bit. We have to cut people some slack when they're trying to negotiate a way to unravel the bullshit of several thousand years.
Yeah. I know, right? There's a lot.
It's a difficult job, and no one has a perfect answer to it.
But the thing is that but it's also a multidisciplinary problem. It's a multi-generational problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely complex. There's no one philosopher or anyone who's going to solve this problem anytime soon. It's got to be more and more conversations with a wider pool of people. More and as much. Maybe this downtime is good because everyone's going to be fucking trying to figure out the meaning of life on Zoom, but with a potato skin.
Hang on, they're going to be trying to figure out on Zoom the meaning of life.
Yes,
they're going to try to figure out
whilst changing their backgrounds. And fucking around.
I don't know what Zoom is. Isn't Zoom just
Skype?
Know.
It is. I don't know whether they're just like somehow they've been very good at capitalizing on this, but somehow they became the default. And it's like, well, Skype works fine. Everything works fine. Like, what the fuck? Anyway.
It's like, hey, Twitter, you're just MSN chat. I was fucking onto you. And you know what? On MSN chat back in the 90s, we could play songs to each other when we wanted to. We can't do that properly on Twitter.
No, because anyway. DMCA.
All you can do is you can link it to YouTube, but you can't just dip into your own private library and say, hey, listen to this.
No, you can't do that.
So
ICQ was the bomb, man.
I think we've gone backwards.
I
loved ICQ. I had some great cyber sex on ICQ. You know what social media has done? I so fucking hate slamming social media as the cause of social ills, but you know what? The cause of it's that before Twitter and Facebook, I didn't know what my closest friends thought about literally everything. And now we feel like we have to have content, so we have to say what we think about things. And so you find out that people you love are so fucking stupid about something. They're like, how could you genuinely think that? You're an idiot. And I thought we were friends, but it turns out you have an opinion
My whole life is a
about
lie.
Bob Dylan that is insane, and I can't tolerate that. It's like, it was so great back in the day because you'd talk to your friends and you'd hang out with your friends and you'd love your friends' company, but like 75 to 80% of their opinions about life you never heard,
No.
and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just to not know the worst of what your friends were.
Well, that's exactly what we were talking about with it's the same thing, that relationship with the celebrity.
Yeah,
Because
wouldn't it be
so
great
much
if all
of
we
it.
knew of John Cusack was how good he was in movies?
Well, yeah, and that exactly.
Mind you, I still agree with John Cusack on a lot of political stuff.
Yeah.
It's just
You can't
I
fucking.
don't know why he has to tweet like he's, just had something fall on him.
Oh, God. But that's the thing, right? But that comes back to this lockdown stuff, right? And no, it did. But then I forgot what the next sentence was.
Everything is the lockdown.
No, but
it's reverse purge.
Sorry, but now we're finding ourselves dependent on the tools that have fucked us in the first place. Yeah. That's what's weird. I think shit's going to get weird for the next few months. It's going to start getting really fucking weird. People are going to start getting really isolated. It's already affecting, I don't know, how's it affecting you and your brains and your marriage?
I don't know. I feel like it hasn't changed our lifestyle all that much. I don't know what this says about our lifestyle before.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's okay. It's just
now I have a reason.
I go long stretches without remembering what's going on.
Yeah.
And I could go even longer if I stayed off the internet. Because every time I go on the internet, I realise there is only one news story, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I think people are a bit over it.
Can't there be a war somewhere? I don't know.
Can we please get back to talking about
can't there be
Lady Dick?
A human rights crisis in Timor or something?
Can we please go back to arguing about whether men can turn into women?
Break the fucking
I miss that. I miss those arguments.
Well, some people still are, and I'm like, come on, guys.
Come on, yeah.
Haven't you heard that there's this virus here and it's coated in a fatty lipid, and we need to wash out.
But anyway,
I don't know. It pisses me off about viruses because it's like it's like an ant you can just step on and kill it.
Yeah,
and it seems ridiculous that a virus is even smaller and we can't just step on it.
But that's the thing, is like this weird. Yeah,
it's a design flaw if ever I saw it.
It is, and it's actually.
Incidentally, if you are still following the doctrine of intelligent design in this time,
I'm fucking almost persuaded. I've got to be honest, there's been a spiritual experience or two where I sit there and I go, how well timed was this fucking thing?
Intelligent design cannot coexist with a God who likes the human race. Let's put it that way.
Well, no, but Christians would argue that God intervenes to teach us lessons until we learn them, right? So I don't want to get all fucking, but it's not the kind of, God is not necessarily sentient, but wise. And there's a part of me that sits there and I go,
hang on, God is not necessarily sentient but wise.
Yes, that was a Pilkington moment. Well, you know what I meant. It's not necessarily conscious. Like I definitely probably would ascribe to the idea of Mother Nature being fucked off with us, right? A stretch. Right.
I realise how attractive that idea is.
Oh no, it is. I'm merely entertaining the fact that it's crossed my fucking mind, which is that we were all squabbling over bullshit, right?
Yeah.
The world was heading. It was Anyway, again, whether that's nature or like anything by design that's fucking smarter people than me are going to figure that one out or argue over it until the end of time, but. I think we all agree that it's pretty well fucking timed. I'm a little bit relieved that we get to have some downtime, right? And especially with some of the turf war shit.
People are still squabbling over bullshit, and that's the amazing thing. I'm wondering, is there anything which would stop absolutely everyone from focusing on their own petty obsessions? Is there anything? Like if this virus wasn't this virus, but it was literally the Black Plague.
Well, I think that's the thing. That's the thing.
Killing not killing like 4% of people infected, but
40.
if it was had like a 75%
Yeah.
fatality rate,
Yeah.
would that stop people, you know, arguing over diversity quotas and
Well, no,
complaining that
because
the
then they'd
Prime
struggle to
Minister
fill positions
spent
at
too long in
all.
his preamble?
Yeah. I think that I really hope that this is seen as the fire drill for the real fucking pandemic. You get what I'm saying? Like it feels like a
I would
fire
enjoy
drill.
it if governments of the world came out tomorrow and said, literally, that's what it's been.
It's a fire drill.
Actually,
Yeah.
there is no COVID-19, but we've heard there's a pretty bad one coming. We
Yeah.
wanted to check how prepared you were.
And toilet
How would that
paper.
go down?
Toilet paper. Noted. That one we didn't know. So we will remember that for next time.
Incidentally, our friend Andrew Bolt.
Oh,
It's funny because I remember years ago reading Andrew Bolt, and there was this theme he would constantly return to of how terrible how much nicer it was to see trees being used to build human things that are useful to humans rather than seeing them, wasted in forests and stuff. And Andrew Bolt has been writing about how the hysteria over the pandemic has been overblown and we should be getting back to work in a couple of weeks. But what I'm surprised he hasn't been harping on is saying that the toilet paper shortage proves that we've locked too much of our trees up in national forests when we should have been making more toilet paper. Because that is a very, very Boltian thing to say. And
he's another one of those people where you can go along for a little while and then he goes and diverges from, and you go, how did I get here? Like Alex Jones, they get you with some logic and then they fucking just.
I've read Andrew Bolt columns about the beauty of wooden furniture as
Yeah.
a way of saying, isn't it better to build a house than to look at a tree? That might be my closing statement. Isn't it better to build a house than to look at a tree? Think on that, and I'll be back to you.
Honestly, I don't think. Can I just say one thing though before we wrap this up?
Please do.
I'm gonna go. Okay. Can I just qualify as if for anyone that sees this, right? First of all, we're just fucking riffing and testing this shit out, so it's been a little less. It's fun. It's great. But if I say things that sound like conspiracy theories, they're not fully formed thoughts. None of these are fully formed thoughts or ideas. So just shut the fuck up. But I honestly,
the difference between us and Alex Jones, he claims that they are fully formed thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just sitting there going, okay, I wonder this. I'm wondering, okay. I don't think that people panic bought as much initially. Okay, there's two phases to the we have to talk about the fucking toilet paper situation because I'm obsessed with the fucking thing. It's the elephant in the room, okay. But I don't think people panic bought initially as much as people say. Okay.
Right.
Knowing what we know, right? Supermarket chains automate their buying, fulfillment, stock, inventory management, right? And they can't handle even sort of small spikes in demand. So what I think actually happened was that a couple of people bought one extra or more extra, right? And there was that knock-on effect. I think that we need to stop saying that people panic bought. I think people logic bought. I think people bought extremely logically. Everyone that I met hasn't gone and bought 50 packets of fucking pasta, right? Everyone that I met bought one extra than they would normally buy because they thought, okay, let's just buy one extra. But that in the millions, that's just with automated systems that they generally only refill their stock. Like they don't hold a lot of inventory at any store, right?
It's what's called, isn't it, the just-in-time supply chain?
Exactly, and that's where
things are coming in just as they're needed,
rather
than
and it's automated by AI.
Toilet paper in particular takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, and they don't actually have people manually managing stock anymore. It's all done by it's algorithmic. So that's what with your everyday rewards cards and your flybys and they track your buying habits, right? And I remember being in a conference 10 years ago where they were talking about all of this stuff like a decade ago. So it's in place now. But it's just, and basically it's like They've got the fucking toilet paper. It's just in a giant warehouse in Sydney somewhere.
Of course.
And they've got to truck it all over. And everyone's like, that's why, yeah. It's just real. It's fascinating. But I think that this idea, I don't think people panic bought necessarily. Obviously, phase 2 was everyone fucking lost their minds. But that initial thing where we were all like, oh, everyone bought the toilet paper. I don't think they did. I think everyone just bought a little bit extra. And anyway, that's just me. I think that
provocative.
I'm just saying, because Coles and Woolworths have been known to collude and known to bullshit. And, you know, I'm saying to Paul, like, what seems more true here? That everyone you know is sitting in a toilet paper fort right now, or Coles and Woolworths are fucking full of shit. I know which one I believe, right?
I know which
and
one
they're
trying
to and they don't want to admit that their fucking just-in-time supply chain that is, first of all, you know, like optimized for maximum profit and like only designed for like everyday scenario.
Absolutely.
They've done no crisis
I think
planning.
You're onto something. And I think the panic was caused by the empty shelves caused by relatively low levels. But you know, as you say, it's
consumer psychology.
So that just a small shift, you know, you just nudge the needle a little bit.
Yep.
And the system breaks down.
Yeah, and also because in marketing, I know how the psychology works, right? Which is that scarcity makes people fucking buy more. And so people start to see the shelves empty and they go, shit, I better grab that. I bought extra rice. I don't fucking eat rice. But there was a bag on the shelf in an empty shelf and I grabbed it just in case.
Yeah, because if people are buying this much rice, there must be something coming that will mean all we will have is rice.
Yes, but also then my philanthropic side, my altruistic side kicked in, which was like, well, then I've got a bag of rice and a bag of flour if someone else needs it as well. So you start then buying for other, you know, like that. So it's not so much panic buying and hoarding, and that's why I think the messaging around that was not very fair. Because I think there's other, like, what's more true? Everyone is an asshole. I prefer to think people are mostly good. They're dumb, but mostly kind-hearted people, right? And people think they're doing
This is very provocative.
Aside from the 10%, aside from that known 10% of psychopaths and fuckwits, right? That are always going to fuck. That all the laws exist for them. Literally, all of the dickheads have all of the laws, right? Everyone else can mostly function. But I actually sit there. So what's more plausible? That corporations are going to fucking corporate. That that Coles and Woolworths are going to be full of shit and put spin and blame the consumers, which they've been known to do, right? Blame consumers for their own fuck ups, and you know, or most people just went, oh, the shelves are empty. They see, like I did this with asthma inhaler, Ventolin. My son's asthmatic. He has his inhaler. But then I heard everyone was panic buying the Ventolin. So I went, oh shit, I'd better grab one just in case. But it's also there if someone else needs it. So I started looking for flour because my grandmother needed it. And I was like, oh, okay, well.
Right.
So you start looking for everyone else as well. That doesn't scream to me as some sort of emotional hoarding panic. That seems like being a decent, logical, functioning fucking human to me. That's what I thought. It was not. That's my end point for that rant, which was, I don't think people are as bad or selfish or greedy as our government and corporations are making us out to be. That's the common theme. Yeah. Like, I think that they like fostering division, and I think most people have acted pretty. I don't know anybody who's sitting in a TP fort. You'd know one. You'd at least know one. I said this was Schrodinger's toilet paper.
For a start, there are the noble people of the Sioux Nation who do build teepees.
I'm triggered by that.
Listen, I know you're 164th Cherokee.
No, my dad. But anyway. No, I did a video last week about my dad sending a tent to my school, sending me to school camp with a fucking teepee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Triggered. Anyway.
I guess, look, we'll let the viewer decide.
Yeah.
If you think that people are as selfish and awful as they seem, let us know in the comments how awful you are. Just to, if you are a terrible person, get in touch.
Well, I'd love to know, because I've said this is Schrodinger's toilet paper, where everyone bought the toilet paper and nobody bought the toilet paper. Or
yes, but that could just be the same.
no one would admit
the
it.
same mechanism by which nobody has ever voted Liberal.
Well, yeah, that yeah, I suppose so. Oh, anyway, we've gone for an hour, so maybe we'll just
Let's
call it.
Let's leave them wanting more.
Huh? Let's
Or
leave it there.
less.
I think people are actually not that bad, and you
Okay.
think people are that bad.
Next week,
So we should
me
vote.
on why they fucking are.
Okay, good. You should. Yeah. All right.
Or I'll chew it over. Next week, I might just come and agree with you about everything.
That's fine.
Or
You still just
I
make
agree
jokes.
to disagree. Yeah.
Fucking. I hate that shit when someone stupid says something that's absolutely stupid and you come from a well-informed, factual place and then they go, oh, we'll just agree. No, they're not equal. They're not equal opinions.
Actually,
you fuckwit.
when someone does that, I love it. So let's agree to disagree on that.
Exactly. All right. Thanks for joining us. Sorry for all the problems and technical difficulties, but we'll iron that out. And we'll come back and we'll watch the video back and we'll find our rhythm.
Don't forget to
oh yeah,
do the.
I love what Bridget Fantasy does. Press my bells and buttons. It's like no, like and subscribe and share and all that stuff and whatever. Show up. We'll find.
Or don't. We don't.
Fucking care. I don't fucking care. If you get popular, you get. If you get popular, you get cancelled. So we're fucked anyway. When you've got zero audience, the stakes are pretty low. It's
John
good.
Cusack joins us.
Yes. If you want to come on as a guest, if you're like want to have something to say, come on. We can have a 3-way.
Yeah.
It won't be a sandwich.
Then we could record a live stream.
It won't be a sandwich.
No, we're leaving off the cheese.
Oh, gross.
I don't know where I was going with that.
On that note, I think we're going to go. Thank you, Ben. I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.
All right.
Bye.